So last time I talked about Sonic Universe 67. And to sum it up real quick, Eclipse crash lands on Angel Island, Team Dark goes to Angel Island, Knuckles and Rouge and Omega go out to find the spaceship that crashed landed on Angel Island, and Shadow gets attacked by Eclipse. Moving on to part 2 is where things kind of escalate a little bit. Actually, quite a lot. At the end of this issue, well, you'll see. Before I do begin, though, I want to say this cover really good, and the fact that this is the part 1 cover and that isn't, kind of weird. I mean, I know why they did it, but I don't know. I just feel like this should have been the part 2 cover, and you'll see why, assuming you haven't already read the issue. Actually, now that I think about it, all these covers have a lot of green to them. Except for this one. No green. Okay. I'll stop stalling now. On to the review. So, Total Eclipse Part 2. Tipping Point. As you can see here, definitely a little fight going on. This is one of my favorite panels, page spreads actually, in the entire arc. Definitely great. So basically, Eclipse and Shadow just fight here, and got some good dialogue between them actually. And here we see that Eclipse doesn't want to kill Shadow, despite the fact that Shadow has basically killed every other member of their race. And Shadow, being himself, refuses and says he's going to kill him. And yeah, that's how it's going to turn out. Also, I love this panel. It's amazing. So then we cut to here, and that's actually a reference right there. I don't know the reference, but I remember that it is. I'm not gonna look it up, so you guys can do that. I like this little thing going on here. The Rouge and Knuckles kind of builds on the character a little bit. So they do find his spaceship, and they're about to blast it open. Find the Dark Arms. But yeah, that happens, and they have to go back. How convenient. Yeah, so we cut back to Shadow and Eclipse fighting. And, well, looks like Shadow is outmatched. As you can see here, though, he gets destroyed pretty quickly because Eclipse, bastard, yeah, Eclipse is designed to counter him. It blocks out his chaos control. As you can see here, it's 10 times his strength. So, Eclipse in his monster form is pretty damn powerful, actually. So, uses the Master Emerald's power, and that happens. It's actually pretty cool, though. So, Shadow wins the fight, but it's pretty beat up, actually, and so is Eclipse. That's kind of gross. Just say that. As we can see here, Snively wants to move the Master Emerald. For totally not evil purposes. Clearly. So we see that Eclipse goes back to his Dark Arms there, and Team Dark and Knuckles finally get back. So Shadow decides what they're going to do next. They're going to move the Master Emerald. And Knuckles is not too happy about that. Rouge tries to talk some sense into them, but it doesn't really work. And so this kind of happens. Great page spread, though, I will say. Like it a lot. So I think this is a really good issue, actually. I love the fight with Eclipse, and I love seeing Shadow and Eclipse just like interact like that. So you'll see later on. As you'll see later on, before I was interrupted by the cat, Eclipse is not going to be so merciful next time. So, the ending of this issue is sort of where my problem begins. That the fight between these two characters. And I see why it's here. But I feel like this could have been avoided. And I don't think it's necessary. I think it drags the story arc on. Instead of part 3 and part 4 just kind of flowing together naturally to make it more epic, fight kind of takes up most of part 3, and it's a good fight, as show off in part 3, but it could have been avoided altogether, and there could have been a tighter script to this that I think would have made it better as a whole. Because these first 2 parts, in my opinion, are the best part of Total Eclipse. these two right here are where my problems start to come in. We'll get to these issues though. We'll get to them. Yeah, but it's not really too big of an issue in this issue. And as we'll see in part 3, the fight was almost avoided. Just so close. And when I do get to part 3, I will have a scenario that could have happened instead of this, but didn't. I used to have one back when I was like making this. I had it, but I never wrote it down or anything, so kind of forgot about it. So I gotta redo that now. So this issue is pretty damn good, in my opinion. I think it's better than the first issue. It's got some great art by Tracy Yardley. The writing, very nice. I love the character interactions. Rouge and Knuckles. I know I didn't like talk about it too much, but it's worth a read, in my opinion. And yeah, it's pretty good. Also, the soft panel, really good.